Okay, everybody, thanks for coming back again. I'm introducing Joll tonight. It's his first time with us. He has been with Creative, and have you been with the Only Home Club?
Only one, and also the Browns Bay one as well.
Oh yes. So first time with us, so very happy to have him here. Actually, I remember seeing you in the mid-80s in a bar, and you were the first act I've seen that had sequences.
I was the first.
Yes, and
Yeah.
was it before MIDI? Like was
Well, it was actually the very early days of MIDI. I'll tell you, as I go through, I'll tell you a little bit about that. Yeah.
So I was fascinated to see, this is the first time I'd seen that. So yeah. So thank you very much. So leave you to it.
Well, good evening, everybody. And, lovely to be with you here. It's really nice that you turned up despite the weather and everything else that's going on out there. And well, for the next 45 minutes or so, we'll have a little bit of fun together. And as I said, I will tell you a little bit about what I've done through my career. I've been very fortunate, of course, to be a professional entertainer my entire life. And as I say, I'll speak a little bit of that as we go through. The main thing is that I'm going to play songs, hopefully, that you'll all enjoy. Hopefully you'll all know these songs, and if you do, then of course feel absolutely free to leap in and sing along, tap your feet, scream and yell. If it sounds like rock and roll, tearing your clothes off and all that sort of thing, it's quite acceptable. People always have favourites, and it doesn't matter what era it is, a good song is always a good song. And of course, in the early 1960s, there was a great entertainer that I'm sure you'll all remember, Dean Martin. And of course, he was a great comedian, fabulous films actor, of course, and part of the Rat Pack. And of course, he had a fabulous voice as well. So I'm going to start off with, just to get the ball rolling, with a little bit of good old Dean Martin.
Yeah, I need to move it. Oh, thanks, mate.
In California, so the grapes can grow, there can be more wine. I'm sitting in a honky in Chicago, with a broken heart and a woman on my mind. I asked the man behind the bar to play the jukebox. I said, very fortunate to actually have a career in music my entire life. Left school, of course, went straight into a professional job. I had a little band, of course. We had moderate success doing the things that, you know, those days the little bands did, and entered the talent quest, which we won, and that got us into a bigger talent quest, nationwide one, and we won that, which got us a record contract, and put out a record which had an extremely short little flutter in the hip parade and then disappeared forever. But about then we were about ready to leave school, all of us, and of course you might remember back in the sort of early 1960s, Auckland didn't have anything flash, nothing big hotels or anything like that. You know, a couple of 3-star hotels like the Great Northern and things like that. And then we finally got a really flash hotel, the Intercontinental Hotel, up on the quadrant at the top by the university there, and we thought, well, look, we've got nothing to lose, and they're looking for a band, so we auditioned for that and got that. And so that was 7 nights a week, which we did there for the next 7 years, playing to American tourists every night, you know. So it was 7 nights a week for 7 years, and if anyone says to me, you know, what was the secret of your success? Well, the reality was this: the secret of a long career is recognising when change has got to come, and not persevering with what you were doing. You know, the band sort of evolved over the different years. When the nightclub scene opened up, we sort of, and dine and dance was disappearing. So of course we went down to Aladdin's and under the Civic Theatre, and did that for 7 years, 7 nights a week, playing of course Saturday night bigger style music and everything. And I'll tell you a little bit more as we go through, but it wasn't long after that that MIDI became to the forefront, and that sort of had quite a big impact on my life. But one good thing happened at the Intercontinental Hotel. Because it was the only 5-star hotel that Auckland had, all the international acts that would come to New Zealand would stay at the Intercontinental Hotel. And of course, invariably they would come up to the top of the town restaurant where we were playing, right up on the top floor, and they'd either have a meal up there and then, you know, sort of head out of the country, or alternatively, they'd have their after-show parties there, which were a lot of fun. And in the 7 years we were there, of course, we hosted parties and paid for parties for people like Neil Diamond and Elton John and Peter Nero, and so many international acts. But one act, very humble guy, and he came to New Zealand just after he'd married his lovely wife. They did one show in the town hall, and they stayed as a bit of a honeymoon at the Intercontinental Hotel for about 10 days. Every night they would come up and have a lovely meal at the top of the town restaurant, and they invited us back to their table. We sat down, we'd have a bit of a chat to them, have a cup of coffee together, and that was Johnny Cash. And I have to say, he was the most delightfully friendly, bloke next door sort of person you could ever meet. Him and June Carter Cash were an absolute dream to get to know. And of course, over the 10 days, we got very, very friendly. And the really nice thing he did is, of course, when they went back to America, about a fortnight later, this cute little postcard arrived from him and June Carter Cash, saying how much they'd enjoyed talking to us and loved the music, and thank you very much. Of course, I've still got that, and it's quite a thing I cherish. Now, you probably know where this is heading. This is definitely not a song from Elvis. A little bit of good old Johnny Cash for you, the one I think that made his name.
Because you're mine, oh.
the MIDI thing, of course, as the band sort of, the top of the Aladdin's course drew to a close after 7 years, and then the band went on the big rock circuit for a while, which was a lot of fun and a lot of debauchery and all the things that go, you know, with sort of doing that big rock circuit all around the country. But it became very obvious that things were drying up a little bit, you know, so just on a total whim. At that stage, as we're getting towards the end, we'd pruned the 6-piece band Rock Candy down to about 3 people. That was my brother and myself and a bass player called Trevor Judge. And computers had just arrived on the scene. And being technically minded, I got myself one of those computer chips, a good old 6080 computer chip. And I designed it to play musical notes, which was the MIDI interface. And MIDI had existed then, but there was no way of actually using it to actually generate music in those early days. Well, not that it was available in New Zealand anyway, so because I built this little computer. 52 notes it could play. And then you had to reload it. You know, so then we had to very carefully work out. So the three of us ended up, we used drum machines and 52 notes, which means most of the songs we did were on loops. So in other words, like Rock Around the Clock was just one verse, you know, the Rock Around the Clock verse going round and round and round and round until someone actually hit the stop button, you know. But it did mean that when the band finished up, I just kind of got sick of the band scene totally, and just on a total whim, Trevor came up and he said, well, where's the next gig? And I said, oh, actually I think I'm going to go solo, I said. And I had made no plans whatsoever, but a very strange thing happened because I thought, well, now I'm going solo and we've got no band work lined up, I'm going to have to work really hard and get a repertoire. So that was on the Saturday night. So Monday I sat down in front of the keyboard and started working hard on getting songs ready for a solo repertoire. That's, you know, 3 or 4 hours worth of songs. And then the phone rings that afternoon, and it's a friend of mine who had another band said, look, he said, our band's broken up. He said, we've got this gig up north, he said, and we can't do it because we've broken up. He said, would you guys do it? And I said, well, actually, we've broken up as well. I said, but look, I'll have a go at it myself. So that was on the Monday. So the gig was Wednesday to Saturday at a little pub called the Rural Way Tavern up towards Dargaville. And so, of course, furiously Tuesday, I'm doing as much as I possibly can, remembering that we already had these little loops of 52 notes that I already had programmed anyway. Went up to Rural Way and had a great night on the Wednesday and the Thursday and on the Friday. And then a gentleman that was leaning against the park came up to me and he said, come and see me Monday morning. And he was the area manager for Lion Breweries, which was very good. So I went to see him the following Monday morning. He said, look, how would you like if you take your act all around the country? So there we go. I left the band on Saturday night and I was back into 4 or 5 nights a week touring the country with Lion Breweries by the following week, you know. So that it wasn't planned, it was just a lucky thing that actually happened. And I did that for a good long while. It was a lot of fun, you know, playing those Cobb and Co bars between Kaitaia and Invercargill. And you know, had a great time doing that. All right, this is a song that you'll all know. And like Dean Martin, and in the 70s and the 80s, Roger Whittaker was around. Now you might remember Roger Whittaker had a most magnificent voice and of course a great TV personality, and he put out a lot of songs. Unfortunately, he didn't stay around for too long, but the songs certainly did. And you'll remember this one. Everybody talks about A New World in the Morning.
Well,
Now, of course, I should have mentioned that back in those days I was a keyboard player, not a guitarist, but a bit of guitar and mostly keyboards. And of course, that was that lovely big 1960s with the big analog synthesizers and everything. A lot of fun. All right, time for an instrumental for you now. And everywhere I go, I play this song. I've been working with Debbie Lauday for about the last 22 years, touring all around. Well, a few years ago we were touring Australia and New Zealand, and these days very much just around New Zealand, and probably over the last year, probably more just around Auckland. But we sort of had a great time sort of doing songs all over the place, but everywhere I go, I was playing the song to the extent I thought, well, look, everybody's heard it. I'm going to not play it anymore, I'll do something different. And invariably people would come up and say, oh, we were waiting for you to play that song. So I just do it all the time now. And of course, this beautiful song, probably by The Shadows, but many other people, and it's called Cavatina, or the Deer Hunter's Theme. Got to see one of these. And so this is Glenn Campbell, and the song that launched him from Glenn Campbell in his early career was a guitarist that sang with it. And of course he got a lot of work doing guitar work and singing with things like the Beach Boys for a while, and touring New Zealand and other places, you know, as a guitarist. And then someone said to him, why don't you sing some of your own songs, which he did, of course, and then, of course, became famous for Glenn Campbell, the singer, that played guitar, rather than Glenn Campbell, the guitarist, that sang a bit. So, and this is the song, of course, launched his career, that fabulous, the Rhinestone Cowboy, and I'm sure you can all join in on the chorus of this one. Okay, now I've got everyone whipped into a frenzy. Bit of entertainment humour there. You know, like, people actually say to me, like, is music all you've ever done? You know, well, because in those days you actually supposed to have a proper job as well. So while we're off the top of the town, of course I went to university and training college and trained to be a music teacher, but then I, of course, taught for about 2 years, paid off my bond and gave it up. Because we were just making so much more money at the top of the town than what we were getting in those days. For teaching was a very underpaid job. But it didn't really matter, you know, because it gives you a good grounding and a lot of other things doing that. But time I think now for a little bit of a nice little ballad, and this is a song that, it's one of those country songs that just about any country act has done this, from Dolly Parton through to Charlie Pride, and Johnny Cash has done this one, and of course Chris Christopherson made it a really big hit. And of course you'll probably all know it's just Sunday Morning Coming Down. generate a little bit more money because, of course, working every night, you've got your days free, and so, of course, I felt I need to upgrade my car. So I thought, well, I'll see if I can get myself a part-time job. So I wandered down the road a bit, just popped around the corner, and there was this building site there that had a big sign on the fence saying, "Handyman wanted." So I thought, well, that sounds like me. So I wandered in and found the foreman, and I said, "Are you looking for a handyman?" He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "We are. We're desperate." He said, "Could you start right away?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure, no problem at all." He said, "Great." He said, "Look, what I want you to do," he said, "I want you to give the guys a hand putting down the sidewalk, you know, laying the cement." Ooh, I said, "Well, I can't do that." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm allergic to cement." Well, he said, "Look, don't worry about it." He said, "What about," he said, "if you give the builders a hand up there on the 14th floor," he said, "you know, up there, and you can put the windows in." So I couldn't do that one. He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well," I said, "I'm allergic to heights." Well, he said, "What about if you just do some landscaping, give the gardeners a hand planting the trees and everything?" I said, "No, I can't do that one either." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I'm allergic to dirt." He said, "Well, how come you call yourself handy?" I said, "Well, I just live around the corner." I better do this one, right? Did you just get it? All right, a little bit of good old Elvis Presley, get your toes tapping, all right? So, and this again, I like doing songs that, you know, launch people into stardom, and this certainly was the one that worked for Elvis Presley right back in the late 1950s. Couple more?
Yeah, great.
Oh, okay, all right.
More than a couple.
That's not really.
A few more.
Time for another bit of what a rock and rolling. Another fun instrumental for you all. So we're going to keep them clapping. Just like this. Ain't got no cigarettes, I got a few hours for vision, burn bars, and came out all in the room. Man of means, by no means, king of the road. The bus come in our train, destination Bangor Lane. Oh, no, no, ain't no union dues, and most of these I am bound. Sharp enough to play around. Man of means, by no means, king of the road. On every engine, on every train, all of the children, all of their names, every handout, every town. When you lock the head, lock everybody, sing along. Trailers for sale for rent. Who's the lady stands? No, yes. I ain't got no cigarettes. I'm out 2 hours of vision, burn bars, and 12 all in the room. Man of means, by no means, king of the road. On every engine, on every train, all of the children, all of their names, every handout, every town. They lock their head, look, everybody clap their hands and says, sailors for sailor rent. Who's to live if these days are? Man of means, by no means, king of the road. Woo! Well done, well done. You know, January, February, quite often now, since I've sort of done this style of solid work, I've been doing a lot of weddings. That's the wedding season. January, February, and then of course March tapers off a bit, and then it's sort of back to touring with Debbie or doing what I'm doing, you know. So, but one wedding I had a couple of years ago really stuck with me because it's a little bit different, you know. They wanted me to play a song in the church for when the bride comes down the aisle and everything, and then of course do the reception afterwards and the dance and the party and everything. It's usually a long day, but it's always a lot of fun. So on that particular day, there I was in the church, standing waiting for the bride to arrive, and standing with me is the priest and the best man and the father of the groom there. And we're all standing. The father turns to his son and says, well, son, says, tonight's the big night. Are you all ready for it? Well, the son was very young and very nervous. No, Dad. And Dad says, what do you mean, son? He said, well, look, Dad, tonight's my wedding night, and I don't know anything at all about, the birds and the bees. Dad says, what do you mean, son? He said, well, look, Dad, he said, I'm about to get married, and you haven't told me anything at all about sex. And Dad says, look, don't worry, son. She'll have the what's what. She'll show you what to do with it. Now, the bride arrived, and they had the wedding. So beautiful. And that night, the two of them are in the honeymoon hotel. He's in the bedroom, getting his pyjamas on. She's out in the bathroom, making herself look all pretty. And she comes out wearing that thing that ladies wear to bed.
Negligee.
You know that thing the ladies wear? Yeah, tracksuit. Listen, told me that's what happens here at Knightsbridge, but... So they leap into bed, they turn out the light, and there they lie. And after about 20 minutes of this, she goes, oi! And he says, what? She says, aren't we supposed to be doing something? He says, doing what? She says, you know, this is our wedding night. We've been saving ourselves for this. We're meant to be doing something. Oh, he said, my dad said you'd have the what's what and you'd show me what to do with it. She said, my mother told me you'd have the what's what and you'd show me what to do with it. He said, well, I haven't got the what's what. And she said, well, I haven't got the what's what. So he put the light back on again. He said, look, it's got to be in here somewhere. He said, look, you go and have a look in the wardrobe. He said, I'm going to have a look in the chest of drawers. Well, she goes over to the wardrobe, opens the door, she has a look through. She said, well, there's no what's what in there. He said, it'll be in the chest of drawers. Opened the top drawer, had a look through. She said, there's no what's what in there either. Then he said, I know, they probably keep it under the bed. Go and have a look under the bed. Well, she walks over to the bed, lifts the covers, has a look underneath, and she said, no. She said, there's no what's what under here. He said, I know. The bottom drawer, it'll be in the bottom drawer. Opens the bottom drawer, has a look through. He said, well, there's no what's what in here either. And then he stood up. And as he stood up, his pyjama cord came undone, and his trousers fell down. Well, she took one look at it, and she said, what's that? He said, what's what? She said, we had it all the time. All right, now, I've done yours. And to keep it fair, we've got to go across the Atlantic, all right? We did better do one for one of the British acts, all right? And so, of course, the one that was paralleling Elvis for a good long part of his career. Had an infinitely longer career, I have to add. Of course, 83 years old, out in New Zealand only a few months ago. Dear old Cliff Richard, of course. And there won't be a person in the room, I'm sure, that didn't go along and watch this movie when it came up with Cliff in it and, of course, the Shadows on a bus trip around the continent, falling in love with various ladies. Summer holiday.
Summer holiday, yes.
When I met Johnny Cash, he gave us a little bit of a tip, and he said, look, he gave us a cassette tape, and he said, look, I'm working on this song at the moment, he said, and this is on about night number 3, he said, take it home and see what you think about it. And I don't know whether any of you ever heard it, because he actually did release it. But it would never, as far as I know, never appeared on any albums. It was just a song that was released. And it's called Chicken in Black. Has anybody actually heard of it?
No.
He does it a lot on his stage shows because, of course, it is very funny. And it's simply a little, cute little story about a guy that himself, of course, he's singing about himself, gets terrible headaches. So goes to the doctor and he says, okay, look, your body's outlived your brain. We're going to have to do a brain transplant. So he goes into New York, meets the doctor who gives him a brain transplant. And, of course, the brain turns out to be that of a bank robber. And, of course, you imagine the problem that comes up. So after having this problem many, many times, as you'll hear in the song, he decides to go back to the doctor and says, look, I want my old brain back. And the doctor said, sorry, I can't do that. I'm just going to put it in a chicken. And he's singing all your songs and making lots of money. So I'll do it for you now, but it's called Chicken and Black. You've been such a great lively audience, you know, you've been really great, right? So we'll do one more that everyone will know, and of course you can all sing along to, and of course it's the Neil Diamond classic, Sweet Caroline. We played for Neil Diamond's after-show party, and actually he's a very, very quiet, very private sort of person. You could tell from, we had a very brief introduction, that was all you got from him, and just watching him through that night, he was very, very introverted. One that was quite the opposite was Elton John. He arrived up there within about 10 minutes of, you know, getting through the normal congratulations and hello and everything, and we were just blown away. And he just marched up to the stage. He didn't say, look, would you guys mind if I sit in, or can I use the piano or anything like that. He just marched up to the stage, sat down, and then he virtually played for the rest of the night, about 3 hours on the piano. And it was, of course, the Yellow Brick Road time. And when we went back to work the next night, there was about 6 strings broken on the piano. The stage was absolutely littered with those diamantes. Remember, he had those huge high heels shoes in the Yellow Brick Road days, and the stage was littered with these diamantes. And you know, he was kind of nice, but didn't have much to do with us at all. Just got up and played and sang, and we backed him. But the following night, of course, his bass guitarist came up. The bass guitarist, he's still got playing with him now, and he was far different. He was got up and he really had a good time, just sort of playing along with what we were doing. So, but anyway, we've got a new Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. Thank you very much, everybody. Really good fun evening with you all. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves and enjoy the rest of the week, of course. It's going to be a little bit yucky out there, but we'll make it a fun week anyway. And I look forward to seeing you all again at some stage.